We're going to go ahead and we're going to hop right in, and this is going to be, this is going to be our first call of 2020. So let me welcome everybody to the Senior Solutions Agency Training Call. And like I said, this is our first call of the year, and we're gonna dive right in. We're going to be giving you some tips on how to increase your sales. And the tips I'm going to give you, they might surprise you, or they may not surprise you. I don't know. But we put a lot of emphasis and a lot of planning. I've been thinking about this call for about 2 weeks. So it may not be the longest call, but it's going to be a lot of great content. And if we will definitely get this put up on our YouTube channel. So if you are a new agent, or if you're thinking about you want to become an agent and you're watching this on YouTube not a repeat, but you're watching it later. If you want to contact me to get more information about Senior Solutions, that's my phone number at the bottom, area code 630-890-8609. But before we get into the actual 3 tips, this is a little book that I read probably, I don't know, 10 times a year. It's one of those little little pocket books, and it's called the Common Denominator of Success. And man, it's got so many good nuggets. I think the book is only like 40 or 50 pages long, and it's, you can see it's not really even a book. It's more of a pamphlet than anything else, man. But just sometimes when I need to get motivated, or just, if I get into a little bit of a slump, because everybody gets into a slump, guys. Even the greatest professional athletes in the world and the best businessmen in the world get into little slumps, man. I just pull this little book open and I read it. But what I've done is I've highlighted a couple of things that I think they're either really going to encourage you, or it's going to be an eye-opener for you. Either way, I think this is going to be some really great content. So I'm just going to read you 2 little paragraphs that I've highlighted. The first one really defines what they're talking about as the common denominator of success. So it says, the common denominator of success, the secret of success of every person who has ever been successful lies in the fact that he or she formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. And I think that's like punching you right in the face right there. Like me too. Like I'm getting punched in the face thinking, man, I could do this better. I could do this better. But I say this all the time. And think about this, what I'm getting ready to say right now. You might want to write this down. What you do daily defines you. In other words, what you do daily, that's who you are. Like, you may want to be super successful, but if you're not doing what's required to be successful, you're not successful, and you will never become successful unless you form the habits. It all comes down to what you do daily and your daily habits. So in a nutshell, if you want to change, and if you're looking for change, you got to change your habits. You want to lose weight, you got to change your habits, right? You want to be better in sales, got to change your habits. Just a little nugget here. Now, I'm going to get to the next part of the book that I highlighted. Now, this is actually taken from a clip from a speech that he gave. So as I'm reading it, pretend that that this person is giving a speech to an audience, okay? So it goes like this. It says, perhaps you've wondered why it is that the biggest producers seem to like to do the things that you don't like to do. They don't. And I think this is the most encouraging statement I've ever offered to a group of professionals. But if they don't like to do the things then why do they do them? In other words, why do the top producers do the things that you don't like to do or they don't like to do? Because by doing the things they don't like to do, they can accomplish the things they want to accomplish. Listen to this part very carefully. The successful are influenced by the desire of pleasing results. Failures are influenced by the desire for pleasing methods and are inclined to be satisfied with such results that can be attained by doing things they like to do. Now, this is something that we should really dissect, okay? Because here's what I can tell you. I can tell you some things that top producers do that they really don't like to do, but they do it anyway. Top producers aren't crazy about buying leads every week. Nobody likes opening up their checkbook or having their credit card ding $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 a week. Nobody enjoys that. But that's what top producers do. They have formed the habit of doing that on a weekly basis. Top producers aren't crazy about getting up super early so they can be on the road by 8 o'clock to get to their first door knock by 9 o'clock. But they do it. Why? Because what it says right here, the successful are influenced by the desire of pleasing results. So they form the habits of doing things they don't like to do. So the less successful people, they don't invest heavily in their business. They don't get out early. They say, well, 9 o'clock seems a little early. I'll get out at noon. Top producers stay out late. Top producers will set a goal of saying, hey, I'm not coming home until I've made 3 presentations or until I've made a sale. The less successful producer will cut out, I'm having a bad day. I'm going to cut out at 2 o'clock. I'm going to go home. This sucks. Nobody's home. It's raining. The wind's blowing too hard. I'm going to go home. Okay? Just think about that and let that sink in. And know that the only thing and it's so easy, it's just flipping a switch. Just commit to yourself that you're going to start performing, that you're going to start creating, I should say, the habits of the top producers. But guys, I just thought I would read those little clips from this book because it's something that I read probably once a month or once every other month just to keep me fired up and to know that I can't get into a slump, that I need to keep working on those daily habits, because I know at the end of the day, I know that my daily habits define me. That's who I am. That's who you are. Your daily habits of what you do daily, that defines you. That's you. So the only way to change it is to change your daily habits. And then, Jimmy, before we move on, anything you'd like to add or comment on this? What I just covered?
You covered that really well.
Okay, all right, very, very good. So just keep that in mind, guys. And then we're gonna hop right into the 3 tips, okay? Which may or may not surprise you. But tip number 1, you want to make more sales? Increase your lead generation. Okay. Now remember, I didn't say you got to buy more leads. But if you're buying leads, whatever, in other words, lead generation, whatever it is you're doing to create leads, you need to do more of it. You need to double down on it. Now, for me, it's direct mail. I mean, that's like my go-to. I have found over 10 years of doing final expense, thousands of sales, is that at the end of the day, I have found that the direct mail to give me the highest conversion ratio and the most reliable lead out there. Now, of course, there's many different ways of generating leads. If you're doing self-generated leads, that's great. If you're a master of getting referrals, that's great. You just need to get more of them, because at the end of the day, wouldn't you agree, if you've got more people to talk to, more people to prospect with, that you're going to make more sales? Of course. So whether it's direct mail leads, if it's Facebook leads, if it's internet leads, telemarketing leads, whatever it is whatever it is your method, and we've got a lot of different. We're not going to get into specific lead generation because we've covered a lot of those things. We have training on lead generation, but my tip would be if I had to put if I had to put all my eggs in one basket, it would be direct mail, hands down. Jimmy, what about you as far as lead generation for final expense? What would you say unequivocally is the most successful, highest conversion ratio?
Referrals, and then, if not a referral, the direct mail lead is going to be the best lead. I have some notes though that I jotted down, and I want to take this like more specific way, real
Yeah.
quick. So like if you're on this call and you're listening and you're already on a reoccurring order, right? I have a tip for you. Just increase your order, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, whatever your recurring order is, just increase it by 1 or 2 leads. That's it. Start with something simple like that, okay? Because you'd be surprised that extra 1 or 2 leads, it's going to add up to additional sales. So that's one way to increase your lead generation. The other thing is when the lists come out every Friday, like we got this morning, and they have your overflow lead, your A minus, and your B leads. Look in those areas. See if there's something in your market. See if there's something that maybe is out of your market but not too far of a drive. And that's another way of increasing your lead order. I have to tell you, I've built my final expense practice on working out of town. I mean, I really have, and I contribute my success to taking road trips. And so, and what I've done is I will look at the leads that come out, I print them out, and I have them side by side, and I try to identify a county where I have leads in every category. So in other words, if I see that there's overflows, A minus, and B leads in the same county, then I'm going to buy all of those leads and go work that county, put a road trip together. That's a way of increasing your lead generation. So again, if you're on a reoccurring order, I'm not saying discontinue or put a pause on your reoccurring order. You need to leave that alone. I'm saying in addition to, you go and do these other things. And especially B leads are very, very affordable right now. I mean, we used to buy them at $2.71, and now they're $1 and sometimes less, depending on the special that they're running. But that's easy money, and you want to mix it in. Again, you got to mix it in with overflows and A minus leads, and then you'll see a lot of fruit come out of that. The other thing I was going to say is, on road trips, you get less distractions. And if I'm on a road trip and I'm spending the night out of town, I'm going to work longer. I'm going to work all day. I'm not going to call it a short day and go home early, especially if I'm having a bad day. Let's say I've been out all day and I haven't really got anything. I'm getting frustrated. I might as well just keep working because, one, I don't got nothing else to do. And two, there's a lot of traffic. So might as well work through the rush hour. But I keep going and I keep going. And at the end of the day, I always come out with something. And it usually makes me feel good about my day's work, because had I quit early, I wouldn't have got anything. But now that I stuck it out, maybe I made 1,500 or 2,000 or 3,000 that day because I kept plugging away. So that's one way of increasing your lead generation. And then the other thing is referrals. You want to make sure that you're asking people for referrals. So if you don't ask, you're still going to get some, but you're not going to get as many as you do ask. So just simply just get used to saying, hey, is there anybody in your family or a close friend that you think could benefit from this? Do you know somebody that maybe they had a recent death in their family and they were impacted and maybe they're interested? So start, putting some images in their head. And even if it's a no sell, sometimes I'll ask people that don't buy from me if they know somebody that this product or service would benefit them, and I'll get referrals out of it. So guys, you need to increase your lead generation, and those are my tips. So Joe, I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect, dude. Yeah, just one little thing I'll won't add, but just expand on about the lead generation. You said it right, man. If you're on a recurring lead order, don't think that you've got to increase it by 5 or 10. You can increase it. If you're on a 15, increase it to 17. If you're on a 20, increase it to 21 or 22 or maybe 23. It's and then you can gradually keep increasing it. And referrals, man, I can't tell you. I think most of us, myself included, are missing the boat on referrals, man. We all should be getting more referrals, which goes right back into the thing of increased lead generation. Referrals are leads. You heard Jimmy. Jimmy said, what's the best lead? A referral. That's the best lead. Absolutely. I would agree 100%. What's the second best lead? Direct mail marketing. But what's cool about direct mail marketing can lead you to referrals and more leads. You probably have seen this before, but I'll put the slide up here. The sales funnel starts with leads, and a lead could either be direct mail or a lead could be a referral. A referral is a lead. Leads lead to appointments, which leads to presentations, which leads to applications, which leads to our income. So first tip is increase your lead generation. Guess what the second tip is? Increase your prospecting. Okay, it kind of goes back to what I was reading that page from the common denominator of success about prospecting. I personally believe that most agents don't prospect enough. That's just my personal belief. Why do I believe that? Because it's true with me. And I know if I don't prospect enough, you're probably not prospecting enough either. Having leads are great. What you do with them, and I think it's so easy to underestimate how much you prospect. That's why it's so important to keep track of your numbers. So when I'm talking to an agent and we're going over numbers, the first thing I always ask about, besides leads, like how many leads did you get this week? How many people did you have to go talk to? It's your prospecting numbers. How many calls did you make? How many door knocks did you make? Of those calls, how many scripts did you read? How many presentations did you make? If you don't track your numbers, it's very, very easy to fool yourself. If you want to have a little bit of a guide or have almost like a contest with yourself, look at this I put here at the bottom. 250 dials, 100 door knocks. That, if you're a full-time agent, that should be your goal. 250 dials, 100 door knocks a week. You may not get there, and that's okay, but that should be your goal. And 250 dials, we're not talking about calling 250 leads. You may be saying, well, Joe only got 30 fresh leads. Okay, we'll call every lead 10 times. That's 300 dials. I mean, how tough is that? You could call, if you've got, as an example, if you've got 20 leads, you called each lead, let's say 3 times a day, as an example, or 4 times a day on those. That's 60, 80 calls in a day. It wouldn't take long to end up with 250 dials. So this should kind of be like, this was always kind of like my target, is like, man, I'm going to make 250 dials. So I know, because I've tracked my number for a billion years, that on average, that I can make roughly, it just depends, somewhere between 25 to 40 dials in an hour. It just really depends on how many people that you get a hold of. But it's usually closer to the mid 30s. So if I take 250 dials, divided by, let's see, 35, 7. So that's 7 hours. In other words, at the most, I think that would be about 7 hours a week on the phone, which is not a lot. So you're talking about, and Saturdays and Sundays were always my biggest dial time. So getting on the phone early Saturday morning, punching the numbers, calling for about 4 hours on Saturday morning from 8 in the morning till noon, and then the other best time I would call would be Sunday afternoons, usually after the Bears game around here. So Bears end up at 3, so get on the phone, call from like 3 until like 7, 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday night. And what you're doing by doing that, you're setting up so you can have as many preset appointments as you can for Monday and Tuesday. If you're not a big dialer, you know what? Then just knock out the door knocks. If you don't want to do preset appointments, if you only want to do door knocking, which is fine. The only thing I'm not fine with is saying, well, I don't want to do door knocks. I'm only going to work the phones. I can tell you unequivocally, it ain't going to work. Okay, you're going to cut your profitability by close to half. Okay, at least 30 to 40%. If you're going to be in final expense sales, you have to be committed, and it goes back to your daily habits of what I talked about, that successful do what the unsuccessful don't like to do. So I'm not crazy about door knocking either. Like I don't think it's fun, but I know that. But like what the booklet says, I'm influenced by pleasing results. So I'm not looking for the easy way, because the easy way was you just sit at home and just call through your leads, and whoever answers. Man, I want to be proactive. I want to get out there, and I want to do. I want to be a master prospecting. So you want to make more sales? Take the leads that you got and increase your prospecting. Because if you can increase your prospecting, maybe you can take if your current conversion ratio, maybe you're converting 20 to 25% of your leads into sales just by becoming a better prospector and putting in maybe an extra 10 hours a week of prospecting. Maybe you can kick that up from 20 to 25. Maybe you can kick it up to 30 to 35% conversion ratio. I mean, that's like, if you're getting 20 leads, do you understand that's 2 extra sales a week on just 20 leads? That's that's almost $1,000 a week increase just for putting in an extra 10 hours. That's what is that? That's $100 an hour. I mean, it's big money. It's and going back to tracking your numbers. So I put this little slide together here. Windshield time, driving in your car, plus being on the phone is going to do what? That's going to create massive dinero. So just simply increase your prospecting. And along with your prospecting, keep track. Use the daily activity tracker. And this is where you track. I'm not going to go through this, but we've done it before. If you want to know how to use the tracker, let me know. I'll teach you how to use it. But at the end of the week, you want to be able to look at it and say, okay, what were my totals for this week? Well, I did, looks like I did 170, and these are my numbers from I just took a snapshot from one of my weeks. Not my best week, but not my worst week either. But 178 dials. So you know what? I didn't hit the 250. That's okay. Read 22 scripts. Booked 13 appointments over the phone. 52 door knocks. So only covered half of what I wanted to do, probably because I had a lot of presets. I did 11 scripts at the door. I had 5 appointments from the door, and then total sits. So even though I booked 18 appointments, I only sat with 13. So I had 5 that either no-showed me or had to reschedule, which is pretty common. Of the 13 sits, I wrote 9 applications for $5,900, almost $600 an app, which is pretty average. I got 19 referrals, which hopefully I can return those into some sales. And then Safe Money, I found 90,000 of potential annuity numbers. That's how you track your sales. And this was off of 25 fresh leads. Now, what you got to understand is that this activity is not necessarily off of those 25 leads that I got that week. It could be, that's the importance of having a recurring lead orders, that some of these numbers are obviously probably from leads that I received 2 or 3 weeks ago, but had to reschedule, had to do something. And of the 25, there's going to be a certain percentage I wasn't able to get a hold of that are going to be carryovers. Okay. But Jimmy, before I move on to the next, the last tip of the week, what would you like to add about increasing prospecting?
Well, I want to say, regarding the door knocking, one thing that if you get out of your house and you get out in the field, if you stay on the phone, right, one thing that you miss out on is being in a neighborhood and seeing what's going on and seeing who's outside. So I can tell you, many stories of going into a neighborhood. I'm going to somebody's house and I see the neighbors outside gardening or sweeping or cleaning their windows or doing something, or maybe just sitting on the porch. Sometimes sitting on the porch, smoking a cigarette. It don't matter, but I see people outside, right? When I go to that lead's house and knock on the door, they don't always answer. And when they don't, I go to that neighbor that's outside next door in the yard and I start a conversation with them. And many times I will sell that neighbor that's sitting outside off the lead that nobody answered my door knock. And so you can't do that when you're sitting at home on the phone. So again, you need to get out in the field. You need to do both. I've had times where people are yelling at me from across the street, even telling me something. So I'll walk over to them and they'll say, oh, well, that person's not there. They left an hour ago, or this or that. And I just start, well, what did you come over here for? Right? They're the nosy neighbor. And I love nosy neighbors.
Yeah.
Now I got an opportunity to talk to them. And so I'm just saying, open your eyes. Maybe you're out in the field and you see people like that, but it never occurred to you to go talk to them, or maybe you didn't have the courage to go talk to them. Work up some courage and do something that you normally don't do, and just strike up a conversation. And it's easy to strike up a conversation when you compliment people. So, I mean, you can look at their yard and compliment them on their gardening, or, their house colors, or, whatever, but just start up a conversation. Act like you know them. Talk to them like they're your friends, and you'll find yourself doing a presentation. And my other tip on that is don't cut the presentation short. Do a full-blown presentation. They're sitting outside doing nothing. They got time on their hands. So just go ahead and do it. One of my biggest sales came from that way. A lady was sitting outside smoking a cigarette, and when I went across to talk to her, I ended up selling her, and then she referred me to her son. I sold him and his wife a policy. The wife said, I need insurance on my grandma. I sold grandma a policy. Grandma said, I need insurance for my other granddaughter. I mean, like, it just kept going on and on and on. All from somebody across the street that I didn't have, that didn't respond to the lead, right? So I'm just saying, increase your prospecting, keep your eyes open. The other thing I was going to say is make sure.
That goes back to lead generation too. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, it's hard to increase you got to increase both, but it's easier to increase your prospecting if you've got more people to talk to.
Yep. And make sure you're leaving door tags. It amazes me how many agents tell me that they don't leave door tags. you got to leave door tags and let the people respond to you. To me, door tags it works great. You know, people respond. They either calling you back because they want their package delivered, or they're calling you back to see who the hell you are because this tag looks bogus and it doesn't look like a real delivery. But either way, they call you back. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what you want. You want to talk to them.
You know what doesn't work is leaving messages on the phone.
Yeah,
But
that.
but I mean, it's kind of weird. Like you leave a note on someone's door, they'll call you. You leave a message on their phone, dude. I'm still waiting on people to call me back from 10 years ago. They just don't call you back. I mean, so you got to be proactive, and that's why with prospecting, man, if you're not door knocking and you're not leaving delivery notices, I mean, like Jimmy, if you weren't out door knocking, none of that would have happened.
Exactly.
Like you never would have seen the lady outside smoking a cigarette, never would have made those sales. I mean, I've got countless stories of same things, and you want to go talk to the neighbors because you know they're and when you see people outside, be observant, and they could have critical information. I mean, there's been many times where I've gone to a house and like what Jimmy says, there's a neighbor outside. I go over and talk to them, strike up a conversation, and they say, "Oh man, so and so, she had to go to the hospital, had bypass surgery, or hey, they're on vacation, they're out of town. What's this all about?" So, man, just all it takes is a little bit, like what Jimmy said, courage. That's the perfect word. Just takes a little ounce of courage just to go out and strike up a conversation with someone you don't know who they are and to potentially be able to share some information and make a sale. So anything else about prospecting before we move on?
I have a couple of more tips. So
Okay, perfect.
the next one is Mutual of Omaha offers these postcards that you can get for free for different categories, but we're going to stick with final expense, right? So you can get a box of 500 postcards and you can pick the age and the gender and the face amounts you want quotes on. So it'll give like 6 different quotes on one postcard and it has your contact information. Where I'm going with this is if you've been doing this a while, you probably have a large inventory of leads and you probably have a lot of leads that you spent good money on that you never got resolution on, meaning you never got to talk to them. Maybe they never answered your phone call. Maybe they never answered your door knock. You never got to talk to them. Mail those to those leads. And if they respond to it, well, see, now you regenerated or reactivated that lead. So use that. And then one last little thing, I'm not real big on this, is probably the least of marketing or prospecting, but is social media. Now that we have a lot of carriers that offer social media, I guess you can say content, it's too easy now. You can easily go on to one of the carriers' website, get some marketing material for specifically designed for Facebook and post it. You don't want to wear out your audience, but you want to post stuff that is meaningful, has value, and it's letting your warm market know that you're in business. I mean, nothing's more heartbreaking to me than a friend or family member to tell me that they just bought life insurance from somebody else. I mean, that breaks my heart. So might as well touch your warm people. And once they start seeing that, hey, well, look, Jimmy does this and Jimmy does that, and then they're going to reach out to you. So that's the last little tip I have for prospecting.
Very good. All right, man. Well, we will move on to the third and final tip, which actually, before we get that, one little thing I'm just going to cover with you, and it kind of goes in line with everything that we're talking about, and this is the sales cycle, and just take it, and it really follows with what we're talking about. Number one at the top of the sales cycle is what? Is marketing and advertising. What is marketing and advertising? Marketing and advertising is your way of getting in front of people that don't already know who you are. Okay? That's the key. Second, with the sales cycle is the lead generation and prospecting. Those two go hand in hand. And then third is actually making the presentation. So it's one thing to do the prospecting, but the ultimate goal is to do what? Make a presentation, make a sale. So we go from marketing, advertising, to creating leads, to prospecting, to making the presentation, the follow-up, and then we're simply repeating the cycle. Now we're moving on. The last and the final tip is increase your training. What do I mean by, there's three categories that we're going to talk about increasing training, okay? One is personal development. The second one is your product knowledge. And the third is your sales skills. Those are the three things that we want to work on. And Jimmy and I are going to talk about each one. So if you want to increase your sales, is that not only do you need to increase your lead generation, you need to increase your prospecting. In other words, we need to work harder, but we want to work smarter. We've got to increase our training. You know, it goes back to the I may get the analogy or the anecdote a little bit mixed up, but it was you know, Abraham Lincoln that said, hey, if Abraham Lincoln had 4 hours to cut down a tree, he would spend the first hour sharpening his axe and then to cut down the tree. So many of us are trying to chop down forest. We're trying to chop down a tree with a dull axe. It doesn't work. You got to have that axe sharp. And here's what I can tell you, whether you like it or not, but intellect is a depreciating asset. You have to constantly be working on yourself. It's great that you went to a sales training seminar 30 years ago, but you got to keep, it's just like doctors and lawyers and CPAs and all types of professionals. They have to keep going to different seminars and keep learning and getting better. That's why Jimmy and I, we're both avid readers. We're sharing information about, hey, what are you reading? What's a good book? What have you read lately? That's the personal development, because you got to work on you. I had a mentor of mine many years ago that told me this, and it's stuck with me. He says, Joe, he goes, your income will never outgrow your self-image. And guys, if you want to increase your self-image, you got to work on personal development. And the best way to do that is reading and getting in mentoring, going to workshops, watching motivational videos with your favorite speakers. There's so much that you can do on personal development. Jimmy, do you want to touch on, we'll kind of go through each one, but kind of give me your take on personal development?
Well, on personal development, I mean, I recommend that you be really, I'm going to say, what's the word, deliberate in doing personal development. Oftentimes, it sounds like a really good idea, and we'll get to that soon, right? And it just gets put off, and it doesn't happen. You have to be committed. You have to be deliberate. So, like, what I do is I will, when I hear about a good book or, good topic or whatever, I immediately go to Amazon and I either am buying the book or buying the Audible version of it or both, or I'm adding it to my favorites, because maybe I don't want to buy it right this second, but I put it on my list because I might forget about it. But then, let's say 2-3 weeks or a month later, I'm looking for something to read and I go back in and I remember that book or some topic. So you need to be deliberate about personal development and make sure that you're doing it. I mean, if you don't like to read, Audible is super easy. We got a lot of time in the field, drive time. I'm listening to Audible all the time. So I hardly ever listen to, I guess you can say music anymore. I'm always listening to some kind of audio tape.
Yeah, guys, if you want to become an expert in something, man, you got to put in the time, and that would be I would echo what you're saying about Audible, dude. I guess you can say that's my favorite way to read now, even though it's not technically reading. But I'm always, listen to something good and to Audible. What's great is that you can, you know, put it on your Bluetooth. You can put it in your car. Guys, we spend so much time in our car is turn your car into a rolling university. And what's great about these recorded webinars that we do is that you can listen to these in your car, just with your phone, man. Just go to the YouTube channel and play it through your speakers. You could listen to this one 100 times. You can listen to the product training call. We do self-development calls. Are there any particular authors or any particular people that you would recommend maybe for personal development?
Well, Stephen R. Covey, that's
Yeah.
he's a good one. Um, right now, I'm reading a book called Traction. I just started it, so um, I don't know. I don't know if there's like one particular author, but I do like Stephen R. Covey. He's got some good self-development books out there.
He does. And I like the motivational type stuff, um, the Tony Robbins of the world. And then I listen to a lot of. Do you know who Joel Osteen is, the preacher on TV?
Of course I do.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, he's got a lot of really good biblical based personal development stuff, and really it's a lot of his stuff is really on like self-confidence, that about being worthy and all deserving. So if you, I mean, whether you're like religious or not, I think Joel Osteen has some really good books that you guys could get into. But find an author. Um, what's the Steve Harvey has written some really good books on kind of self-development and personal influence, and of course like the Dale Carnegie,
Hmm.
Og Mandino. I mean, there's just tons. We've got a list of books that you can tap into. But if you're looking for something and you want to ask for a recommendation, get with me. We can talk to you about, maybe find out where you are and what kind of book what you could read that could really help you with your self-development. But a lot on self-development is really just is um, bringing up your self-image. And then I'll throw this out there, is that everybody on this call, everybody who's listening is deserving. Like, you deserve the best. You deserve to make it happen. You deserve to have 2020 be the best year of your life. You deserve it. But it's not going to happen on its own. We got to put in the work. People are the people that do the work are the ones that are rewarded. Lazy people, they don't get rewarded. Next is product knowledge. Guys, you got to learn your products, man. It's not my job. It's not Jimmy's job to teach you product knowledge. Like if your only product knowledge is waiting for the Friday call, then you're not being proactive. You've got to be proactive and systematically go through and just take the time and go through each carrier. Start with Transamerica, Mutual Omaha, Foresters, Liberty Bankers. It's boring as hell, but it's what's required. And it's going through, a lot of these companies have great training videos that you can watch the training video, but what I do when there's a new product that comes out, you know what I do is I go through I read the application if it's available on paper. If it's online, I go through the online application. I print out the product guide so I can learn all the particulars, issue ages, face amounts, all that stuff. Try to commit it to memory as much as possible. Sometimes I'll take the same sheet, I'll read it 5, 6, 7 times. That's how many times I got to do it to memorize it. And then I'll go through the underwriting guidelines and just start in looking through all the different health things, and I'll look up a couple of medications that I'm familiar with. But it's so important to understand your product, because it's important to put a client in the right product. We want to be ethical. We want to be doing the right thing, and you want to make sure that you're putting the client in the right product, especially if you're replacing. I just look at it this way, as I always look at it as like, hey man, if I were to get called out by this family's relatives, or if I had to go into a court of law, can I justify the product did I sell them the right product? Okay, that's what we want to do. And if you don't know your product knowledge, you may be putting them into a product where maybe they could have gone with another carrier. Maybe because they're, they're on a ton of medication, you automatically say, oh my God, this is, they're just gonna have to go graded. And you put them into a guaranteed issue, you put them into a graded product where realistically, maybe you could have got them into a standard same day coverage, or maybe even preferred coverage in some places. I know many cases, many instances where I've been working with clients or agents, and we're talking about a case, and it's like, oh, I had to put this guy graded. Okay, well, no problem. Well, out of curiosity, what was the client's issue? What was their health impairment that caused them to go graded? Well, they had this. Okay, well, we could have done this or that. We could have gone with a different carrier. That's why it's important to know your product knowledge. And at the end of the day, Jimmy, right, if you put them in the right product, you're more likely to have that stay on the books and it not get replaced by another agent. Because I promise you, if you're not taking the time to do the field underwriting, and you're automatically putting them into a substandard product, if another agent happens to come along, you're running the risk that your product is going to get replaced. Jimmy, on product knowledge, anything that you'd like to add, or maybe talk about the importance of knowing products?
Yeah, I mean, I've done this since I started, and I recommend it to all agents, is you need to dedicate 1 to 2 hours a week specifically for product training. And so for me, it's usually Saturday mornings. I will pick a topic or a carrier, and you just study it from head to toe. So like, we'll start, like an easy one is Living Promise, right? If you're new, that's your bread and butter. You need to study the application first. That'll answer almost, I'm going to say 80% of all your questions. If you just read all the health questions, all the underwriting questions verbatim to yourself, answer it, fill it out, fill one out on yourself, the whole application, study it, read everything, read the conditional receipt, read the accelerated death benefit, start with the application, and then go online and go to Mutual of Omaha's product training and read the underwriting guideline, and then practice quoting it, and get your 3-option quote sheet and practice writing it down. You got to break it down very specific, become an expert on one product, and then next week you pick another product. Maybe you stick with the same carrier, but now you're going to GULE or Term Life Express, or maybe accidental death or Children's Whole Life. But like, want to break it down. And so my recommendation is to work with one carrier and stay with that carrier for a few weeks, but learn every single product, become the expert for that carrier. Be the go-to person when anybody has a question about that carrier, you know all the answers to because you did all the work yourself. Now you're a resource. And then once you're done with one carrier, then pick another carrier. But pick the ones that you're going to sell the most often first. And then those other ones, get to those later. Those have less priority. But that's my recommendation.
Yeah, very good. I recommend the exact same thing, man. So we're definitely in step and in stride with that as far as product knowledge. And you'd mentioned about product knowledge, guys, and we are still currently updating the cheat sheet. There's been some changes in underwriting. I'm working in conjunction with Javier that we're putting together a Google Doc that we're going to be able to share. Which will be good about this is that we're going to be able to provide you a lot more information. Now it will be a printable form, but we're also going to set it up where you'll be able to view this from your tablet or your phone, and you'll be able to tap on certain fields, and it will expand and give you some additional information. So kind of a work in progress. So just kind of be patient with us on that, but we will be getting that out to you within the next week or so. And then the last thing about training is sales skills. You got to work on your sales skills. So it's great about personal development. Okay, but when we're talking about personal development, we're really talking more about, self-image, motivation, encouragement, building up your courage, that sort of thing. The sales skills, what we're really talking about is specifically we want to work on our insurance sales skills. Now there are some trainers out there that can give you some really good knowledge on general sales skills. Most of you know I'm a huge fan of Grant Cardone. I think the information that Grant Cardone gives on sales can carry over into almost any field, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're selling computer software, you're selling houses, medical equipment, insurance products, whether you're selling cars, whatever, whether it's tangible or intangible products, I think Grant Cardone has probably, I would say, the most relatable and most updated information that's out there. There's a lot of great sales training out there. Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins. I mean, it's all really, really good. And sales is sales, and you can go back 100 years and probably using a lot of the same techniques. But what I like about Grant Cardone, it just seems to be a little bit fresher and a little bit more cutting edge than some of the old school. Now, if you're old school and you want to listen to, you want to take tips from Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins, trust me, you can't go wrong. I mean, there's like amazing information. But if you want to get into some of the newer stuff, Grant Cardone, Jeffrey Combs, who's really not probably, he's more well known probably in the network marketing circles, which we're not network marketing, but it's still sales. And he's got a lot of great information that I really like, that I listen to, and specifically about closing and the psychology of closing. But Jimmy and I have produced a lot of material on sales skills specific to our industry, specific to exactly what we're doing. Sales skills on how to make a proper presentation, how to deliver a phone script, a door knock script, how to overcome those objections. And I'm going to tell you this, man, the only way to get better at those sales skills is to drill and drill and drill. You've got to just learn that stuff and have it sink into your head. So when you get that objection, you don't have to think about it. There's no hesitation, that you can go right into it. You know how to handle an objection, which is what? You're going to agree with the client. You're going to answer the question, then you're going to ask a question. We did training on the 3 A's. So even though there's a lot of great, what I would refer to as like Grant Cardone, like great information, but it's relatively generic, I would recommend listening to a lot of our sales training as well that's more specific to the exact field and pertains to exactly what we're doing. But Jimmy, we're going to end the call on this. So anything on like sales skills, any tips or any reference material you'd like to reference to on that?
Well, you know, the only thing I'd like to add is that you have a lot of resources available to you. You have the Senior Solution Training website. You have the Senior Solutions YouTube channel. You have the YIG back office. I mean, right there, that's a ton of information that if you studied that on a regular basis would probably take you a year to go through. Am I right, Joe? I mean, we have a lot of information available. So the resources are there. It's just about a matter of you know, putting in the time to go through it. So just know that we have plenty of resources. We also have live training events. I highly recommend that you invest in yourself and you go out and you train. And that's real important. And I do have a recommendation, since it's the beginning of the year and we spent a lot of time on talking about prospecting earlier, is there's a book that I read about a year ago and it was phenomenal. And I think I'm going to reread it. It's called Fanatical Prospecting. And the author's name is Jeb Blunt, Jeb, Jeb Blunt. So Fanatical Prospecting, that's an awesome book. If there's just one thing that you could do to increase your sales, that's going to be prospecting. If you just do that one thing, you're going to increase your total income. So I'll turn it back over to you, Joe.
All right, buddy. We're going to end the call, guys. I'm going to give you one other tip. So we've got, I'm going to give you another book reference. So is Fanatical Prospecting, is that available on Audible? Do you know?
Oh, you broke up. I couldn't understand.
Oh, is Fanatical Prospecting, is that available on Audible?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to get that today. Guys, 2 books we're going to leave you with as far as, and these kind of go hand in hand with personal development and sales skills, is get Fanatical Prospecting. And who's the author? Jeb, what's the guy's name?
Jeb Blunt.
Jeb Blunt. And then order Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Probably one of the best sales books I've ever read on actually selling. So we'll end it with those 2 recommendations. So, hey, Jimmy, let me turn it over to you, my friend. Go ahead and sign off for Senior Solutions, and we'll call it a day.
Well, it's a new year, guys. It's the 20s, and you know what? All I can think of is like the roaring 20s, right? It'd be nice for it to be roaring again. We're in a really good economy right now. This is a really good time. I know that you know, as far as earning potential, it's huge. It's just a matter up to us if we're going to put forth the effort and we're going to have the fortitude to keep going, even, you know, during challenges. But next week, I will be in Chicago with Joe Johnson. And so it'll be kind of cool because we'll be on the webinar together in the same room. And so it's probably going to be, I'm assuming, a funner call. We've done it once before like that, or twice before, actually. So I'm looking forward to that. So guys, y'all have a great weekend. Be sure to tune in, tell a friend. We'll see you next Friday at 10:30 Central Time.
Awesome. God bless everybody. Take care.